I'm Ross Nelson, CEO of Marshall Reddick Real Estate, and I'm with two of the smartest, hardest working guys I know.
Ditto, buddy.
Thanks,
I think you're the smartest guy I know, and I think you're the hardest working guy I know.
You guys are the smartest guys and the hardest working guys I know.
So who are you?
Yeah, my name is Patrick Prunty. I'm so happy to be with you two. No, I lead the lending team, so one of our 3 divisions, and it's going to be a fun time.
Yeah.
And I'm Scott Pastel, VP of Real Estate, which entails many different things, but above all, just working with our teammates, bringing in new agents, training, hiring, mentoring, and just having fun every day.
I feel like you've had more job titles than anyone.
I've had many job titles. If you look at my LinkedIn, I think I have about 10.
Yeah, I think that's an understatement of the reality of your job titles.
I think it's just chameleon, right?
Yeah.
It's just shedding
You gotta
skin
do what
and
you gotta do.
moving with times.
Yeah, as you grow, things change, and you got to change and adapt with it.
Exactly. Always learning.
Yeah, I want to start out with talking about Marshall Reddick, the person, and who Marshall is or was or has become and all that good stuff.
Marshall is the most unique human being that I have ever met.
Yeah.
He is the eternal optimist.
Yep.
He has been through so much. Mm-hmm. I love the guy. He's been a mentor to me in a couple of capacities, really in 2 that I'll share. Number 1, what not to do.
Yep.
And the other is be willing to take a risk.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, what to do? We're sitting here today because of the foundation and platform and work that, he did for, 35 years when we picked up the torch, and now, another 10, 15 years in addition to that. We got to throw a big 50-year party. I feel like
we're coming up on that, right?
I feel like we gotta do a
coming up on it
50-year
soon.
party.
But when I met Marshall, he was just like a larger than life figure. It's just like, this guy is like unbelievable, and I looked at him like, how did you get to where you are, know? And I saw him just growing the company and just, speaking, and he just had so much wisdom.
He was a heck of a speaker.
And he's very resilient,
Well, you were a kid at that time. So like you were 19, I think.
Yeah.
20.
I remember just like,
College
putting
intern.
on a tie for the first time.
Yeah, exactly.
Learning how to, put on my belt.
Yeah.
Just walking through the hallway and just, Marshall walking by me and him just saying like, how are you doing? How's everything going here? And I'm just like, wow, like you acknowledged me. I was an intern, barely doing much in the company, but he took the time to like get to know me and really mentor me. So
going off the theme of Marshall as one of the most unique or eccentric people you've ever met, here's kind of a simple story of Marshall Reddick's mindset. So he would work, 7 days a week, 15 hours a day. But, and then that's not like he woke up at 4 a.m. and meditated and worked out. No, like he literally worked 7 days a week, 15 hours a day. And then the last week of every month, he went on vacation. So he only worked 3 weeks a month, and his weekends were all together. And he's been to 200 plus countries because takes 12 one-week vacations a year.
His mind was always working.
Yeah.
He'd get up in the morning and, he'd do his like exercise routine.
Sit-ups.
Yeah.
He'd do the sit-ups. He'd do his sit-ups in bed or I guess wherever he was. But then he would just start writing and he would just pour out like all these things and back then he was writing it down.
There was no cell phones, there was no internet or
Remember he had a typist? He had like a
a
lady who was one of the only human beings on earth that could read his handwriting.
Yeah.
I think her job was just to like learn his handwriting.
Yeah. She was she was a court reporter basically.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
He's a
I haven't
doctor.
thought about that in a long time.
He was a really late adopter to technology too. I can remember getting started and he used the fax machine more than, I think a normal human being should.
He taught
He
Ross
would just
how to use
fax
the fax
memos
machine.
to different departments.
Yeah.
Ross comes in at 21 years old and Marshall at 70 teaches
That was
you
in
how to use a
2009.
fax machine.
Marshall's like, can you fax that to me? And I was like, no, I can't. But if you teach me, I'm happy to.
And you taught him how to use an iPhone. It was such a good partnership.
It was. Well, the funniest part was he has these 2 computer monitors on his desk.
Oh my goodness.
And one
Not
day,
plugged in.
not yeah. Well, let me get there.
Let's get to the story.
So
Go ahead.
one day he like calls me and he's like, "Hey, like, can you get this out of my office for me?" I'd been there for maybe like 9 months or something, and he has this big office. There's like that. There's a couch on the side, and then he's got this like 4-top round table, and then he's got his desk, and I don't know, it's maybe like 1,000 square foot office, and And I go to his desk to get, I don't even remember what it was, like a piece of paper or a letter or something. And I look at his computer and they're covered in Post-it notes.
Yes.
The
They
whole
never turned on.
computer monitor.
Oh,
and I was
yes.
like, what in
With
the
like
world?
20 on it.
How do you see what's on your screen with all those? And I look down, they're not plugged in and there's no computer. And he has the computer monitors so that people don't know he doesn't use a computer.
I have that like ingrained, like just a photographic
I was like,
memory
Scott, you
of his
gotta
monitor.
check this out.
That was at the Gillette building with the
That was at
atrium in the
Gillette
center?
No, it was across the
Kettering?
street at the Kettering building.
Kettering.
Okay.
Yes, upstairs.
Yeah, upstairs in the Kettering
yeah.
building. Yeah, because that was 2009. I think 2008.
So you missed the swan in the atrium?
Sarah.
I became friends with Rand, who is trustee corp, and he's the one that bought the Gillette building, and he was processing, I mean, millions of foreclosures a year. And he was a good guy. He lived in Newport, and so I walked that building a couple times, but that was after Marshall had sold it.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So Marshall, I think he can be described in so many ways. You know, he's an educator.
Yeah,
and a doctorate.
I think an educator first.
First.
Yeah.
And such a caring person though.
Yeah.
You know, like just no matter what point in his career, he was so caring.
I mean, even to this day, he hasn't changed a bit. He'd give you his last dollar, like, and I wouldn't even think about it. He'd be like, "Oh, I'm really sorry. Like, wish I could give you more. I just don't have more to give you."
I remember talking to an employee in the office back in 2006 or 7, and another employee pulled me aside and said, "You know, that's Brenda." And I was, you know, she's got an amazing story. Marshall found her, I think, through his church, and she was homeless and didn't have really much means. And Marshall like mentored her and hired her, and I was just like, "Where am I working? Like this place is
just hired a homeless person,
unreal."
and she worked out, which is crazy.
I thought I thought I was just working at a real estate company. Like this is wild.
Yeah.
You know, something unique, you know, Marshall had 2 careers. His first career as a college educator.
Yeah.
And something that he impressed upon me was a personal, like, household finance. And I think that's sort of how he got into and created Marshall Reddick Real Estate, coming out of that career as a college professor,
Yeah.
and wanting and realizing that the country didn't have personal household finance. I mean, basic stuff. What's a FICO score? How to balance a
budget,
checkbook?
how to get a mortgage.
Yeah, things like that. And so he came and really had the heart of gold to want to educate the public like that, and specifically the middle class.
Yeah.
He wanted the middle class to succeed and to be wealthy, and he was able to do that with real estate.
Well, and what was interesting was, you know, he went, you know, to Texas Tech, got his doctorate degree like right away. So he started teaching at like 24.
Young. Yeah, he was really young.
You know,
in his 20s.
Yeah, so it was like he had been a college professor at Cal State LA and head of the business department for
30 years.
25 years. He was only 5 years old. 40,
He retired as a
49
teacher.
years old.
By
Yeah, he
the time
like
of
fully
60, he was
yeah,
totally retired as
totally,
a teacher.
which is crazy.
And I still meet people that were his students. We still meet people from 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And they just, every one of them, I mean, we've had hundreds and hundreds of these conversations, just goes, you know, Marshall is one of the most memorable people in my life. You know, he changed my life. He taught me, you know, how to invest, how to prepare for the future, how to prepare for retirement.
Yeah. What year did he buy his first property? I think it was
1975.
1975. So how old would he have been then? He would have been like
Mid-30s,
yeah,
maybe,
mid-30s.
right?
Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
Like 30 something or maybe 30.
Yeah.
He was a self-starter. I mean, that's another thing about him. Like he was such a pioneer. He'd hear somebody say something and he's like, I'm going to
Go do that.
take that knowledge
Right now.
and just do
Implement it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same day. There was no.
No,
there
he
was
would just
no
get out
delay.
there and do it.
High sense of urgency with anything and everything. It was like, we got to do this right now.
Exactly.
Yeah. Pros and cons to that though.
Right.
I think
right,
due
right,
diligence
right.
and
Preparation
verifying
helps.
is,
Yeah.
you know, I think I learned that urgency is good with, you know, the right documentation, vendor analysis, due diligence, and maybe move a little bit slower.
Yeah.
But also get things done. Don't just sit there and think and process and document and talk about it. And, you know, a year goes by and you just are right where you started.
He's very much a visionary, right? Like an entrepreneur. He could see something that was missing for like the masses and say like, I'm going to change as many people's lives as possible. And I think that's always been his like number one
I think
mission.
what was interesting though is like he really invented like out of state investing.
Yeah.
Like there was no concept
Industry,
of like you would buy a home in another state because this was like the 80s and 90s and you just only
There's no internet.
Yeah, there's no internet.
There's no Google. There's no
cell phones.
Zillow.
Use a phone book.
You got commercialized.
Yeah, and you have to direct
even
mail. There was no fax machines when he got. I remember when Marshall, he told me a story once, and he's like, he was at his office, and this guy knocked on the door and rolled in this huge machine, and he goes, "You can send a letter instantly." And Marshall was like, "What do you mean?" And he was like, "It was like $20,000." And he's like, "I bought it that day from this guy who like cold called or door knocked." And he just bought a fax machine. And he's like, "I knew my life would change forever once I got that fax machine." I was like, "What in the world?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, how do you even carry that around? Like, it's
So the company, how did Marshall transition? I'm curious from Pat's perspective because you started like early
2003,
on.
I think.
Yeah,
Right?
and so you have the most history of all of us. Like, what were those early days like, and how we got started and everything?
You know, Marshall also was in the right place at the right time.
Yeah,
You know, he had been buying real estate in the late 70s through the 80s into the 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, all over California, specifically Southern, before he started investing out of state.
yeah, a lot in LA.
You know, and sticking with the educational aspect of things, I mean, he loved interns. That's how I got started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a college kid going to Long Beach State, early 2000s, and I needed an internship, and he was always promoting the hiring of young kids to come in and work hard and learn the business. And so, you know, I knocked on his door and, you know, of course, Marshall is smoking. "Hey, Pat, come on in," you know. Yeah, he was fabulous. I started the next day, literally just as a data entry clerk. And we had these like giant monitors at the time. I mean, there was no laptops, there was only desktops.
Yep.
And I mean, I just learned how to type extremely well, the 10 keypad, and just started like getting involved in everything that I could.
Yeah.
He had like 20 interns.
in his house.
We need to
His
create an intern program for the company.
No.
We always have two
Well,
or
we've done
three
that. I mean, we have a lot of interns that come and work for
Yeah.
us. I mean, Scott was that
I was
way,
an
but
intern, junior in college,
Yeah.
going to Chapman University. Same story. Pat and I have a very similar story. And my father was looking to retire, looking for other ways to, to cover our family's future, and bought a property through Marshall. And he got a college brochure in the mail one day from Saddleback College in Mission Viejo. This looks interesting, right? And the continuing ed colleges.
This is
And
Bill?
That's how my father, Bill, yeah. And that's how it all started. He went to a college class at Saddleback
taught by
College
Marshall?
in Mission Viejo, and met Marshall, and he
how to buy your first investment property?
he bought a property in Kingman, Arizona in 2004. Started going to more of the seminars, and here's Marshall say one day, "Hey, I'm looking for interns." And same thing. My dad every day was like, "You need an internship. You're graduating soon. You got to
Do
prepare.
something with your life,
Do
Scotty."
something. Yeah,
Yeah.
put that college degree to work."
Because
yeah.
at the time, Scott was working at a blind preschool as a teacher at 19,
those
20 years
exist.
old.
I remember, I just was looking for a college job through Chapman. I was like, that looks interesting.
Oh my gosh. I want to
Didn't
hear
quite have
I want to
anything to
hear
do
a
with my
story
career,
about
but
that.
A good
A
story.
good story right now.
Let's see. Well, I mean, so when I started there, it was like 2002, I was a teacher's aide. So somehow they trusted 18-year-old Scott in a classroom with no experience, and they partnered me with two different kids. And
Boys, girls, how
two
old were they?
boys. I think they were like, one was maybe 4, the other was 5. Like no experience in this realm before. One was fully blind, the other was visually impaired, but they both extremely different in just their personalities and some of the the challenges they had. And so my job was just to make sure that they didn't run out of the classroom or hurt themselves. And one of the parents was like, "Hey, my kids really like you. Like, would you ever want to babysit?" I was like, "Sure, of course I would love to babysit." 3 boys.
Oh my god.
3 boys, and I'm an 18-year-old boy.
Oh,
and
they're just wild animals.
There was
Oh my God.
like a 1-year-old, like a 3-year-old, and a 5-year-old. parents are like, all right, like you seem like you know what you're doing. Like we're going to go out for dinner.
Oh my
And
gosh.
the 3-year-old was just jumping up and down on the bed. And I'm like running around. Like, keep in mind, like I now have at 40 a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I'm like still
you're still rough around the edges of child babysitting.
This kid's jumping up and down on the bed, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like the other older kid is where is he?
Don't tell me he jumped off.
So he jumped.
Was he the blind one?
No, actually. So the cool part about the school is they were a mixture of sighted and blind and visually impaired.
Okay.
And the whole the logic is that they assimilate the sighted kids learn a lot from the visually impaired kids. The visually impaired kids learn from sighted. It's really cool how the whole thing worked. But anyways, he's jumping up and down on the bed. He falls off. He bangs his head against the wall. He has a big bruise.
Oh my god.
And I'm like, oh my god, the parents are coming home.
And there's no cell phones, so you're like, you can't call them.
What do? Put an ice pack on them? Like parents come home later that night. He runs right up to them and goes, "Mommy, Daddy, like look at my head, look what happened." And they look at me and
they never hired you again?
No, the dad took money out so begrudgingly from his wallet and was like, "Here you go." And I was like, all right,
I'm out of here.
Needless to say, I did not babysit those kids again after that. So.
Oh my gosh. So Marshall
from
was
that to Marshall Real Estate.
Exactly.
What he did is he monetized what he was doing, right? He was buying real estate with the intent to hold it, right? He was sticking tenants in there. He was holding it.
Very much a buy and hold guy.
Yeah, and it was going up in value over time, and then he was able to refinance and take cash out and buy the next one.
Yeah.
But he, again, that education aspect of what he always wanted to do, so he would start going and teaching people in the community. A lot of times that was through a community college or one of the state universities and their university extension services. So just free community events, and he would teach people what he was doing and then monetizing it, right? So he would have these like bus tours. And he would get folks that wanted to go around and tour real estate, and he had his local realtors that he would work with.
That was also when the VA started doing the zero down for investors in like the late 80s, early 90s during that recession.
And no one knew about it.
Yeah, and no, except Marshall.
And he just completely publicized it.
Yeah, he marketed he probably marketed it better than the VA.
You know, coming in like,
well, the VA is not very good at marketing anything.
Yeah, that's true.
I think one of the things I appreciated so much was that he never, charging for education was like never his focus. It was always like, give this education to as many people as possible. Yeah. And then mentor them hands-on on how to do it.
They did charge though because it was the
Covering
college.
The books,
yeah. So it was
but we're talking about like $19,
$20,
$25, something like that.
Yeah, and so I think he was making $100, $200 for teaching, and but ultimately he started making his money because the students, because at the time these were adults, these weren't kid students, it was continuing education. So these were night and weekend classes that you took at local universities. Yeah, because there's no YouTube, there's no Google, like you either read a book or go to a local college for continuing education. And so all of these students or all these attendees were working adults, and they would take these classes and seminars, and he'd say, hey, like you should invest in real estate. And so that's when those adults or attendees, students, would connect with his realtor, who Marshall was buying investment property through and working with. And the realtor's like, yeah, like refer me more people. Like, this is incredible. You're sending me like hundreds of buyers. Like, go get your real estate license and I'll start paying you referral fees.
But that was the craziest part, though, is that he didn't actually do the transaction.
He didn't want to be like a traditional agent.
He's never written a purchase contract.
No, Oh, yeah. He signed a lot.
Signed hundreds. He signed a lot.
Yeah, but you're right. He has never been an agent.
No, it's no transactional real estate.
Yeah.
All educational, referral based, and then getting a cut from the realtor who was actually doing the transaction.
Like you said, he'd rent these caravans. He would do the college class on a Saturday from 9 to 2. And then they'd all get in this big bus, and he would just drive them around Long Beach,
Stop at Sizzler for breakfast or lunch.
Dude, he loved
But he would just point at a house, and he would just say, like, that's a good investment. He had it all printed out, and he would explain to people, like, this area is
and he was big on, like, A-class properties, 3-bed, 2-bath garage, good neighborhoods, and, duplex, fourplexes. But they were always, never tertiary markets, always major metropolitans, and that was kind of his deal.
I think his model really formed in the 90s when California real estate values were going up a lot. It became harder for people to buy them as investments.
Yes.
And around that same time, an agent he knew that was in Phoenix, Arizona, called him up one day and he's like, hey, you got to come out here. You can buy a home for $50,000.
Yeah.
And then he
just crazy.
So he went out and then he would do these classes. And about every 2 weeks, he would do a bus tour to Phoenix. Like literally people would get in a bus in Orange County or LA and he'd drive them out to Phoenix.
We need to do those again. We need to bring those back.
We are going to next year.
Oh, we are?
Yeah, we're doing bus tours in San Antonio and Nashville. Yeah.
Okay.
It just kind of exploded after Phoenix, though.
Receive.
That was like with the first market I think that he was into, and he's from Colorado, so he was up in Colorado a lot too, outside of Denver.
That was the second. It was right. It was Phoenix, and then it was Colorado.
Yeah, I think he was up in Denver. And then he's always had this affinity for Oregon, right? So he got heavily into Central Oregon, Coastal Oregon.
It was more of that was a vacation spot for him. He really enjoyed Oregon coast.
And in this time though, like if you lived outside of those states and you wanted to invest remotely, there was like no means to do it. You'd have to fly or drive to that location. Yeah. You would have to open up a phone book and look at all these different like Keller Williams or Remax offices and you would just drive. Yeah. And you'd walk in.
And then you'd leave and hope they mail you a rent check in the mail, like a paper check.
Took like a week to come or whatever.
Let's timeline this, right? So we're talking now early 2000s.
Right? Where we're at, he's getting, I think the 90s when he.
Oh yeah, he started that in the late.
But we're talking 98, 99. Getting into 2000. Right. That's when it's like, okay, we're getting into other states. Right. And none of us had yet started, but we're coming into the fold pretty soon. It's gonna get unique.
Yeah, exactly.
We were all baking in the oven or something, right?
Yeah. Well, we weren't that young, but we were in high school picking our noses and running around causing problems.
Just trying to pass classes.
Yeah. So I was a third year student, got that internship. That was 2003. And just running around trying to figure out what was going on.
And what year were you, Scott?
2005. Yeah. February 2005.
So you guys saw you guys were selling like 1,000 properties.
Oh my God. I came in and I was Marshall's assistant. So like I literally did like
he had a personal assistant, he had a work assistant, and he had a driver.
Mm-hmm. He had a driver.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah. That's crazy.
He was doing so many seminars. He was doing like 20.
Yeah, that's all he was at that point. I think that's all he was doing was education at that point, and he had a C-suite running the business, and he was just spending time with clients. Yeah.
7 days a week.
Yeah, 7 days a week.
He was teaching or some kind of speaking engagement 7 days a week.
Yep.
You know what's really interesting about Marshall? He put me in so many uncomfortable positions at those events. I would help sometimes lug the gear, set it all up.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting in the back. I forget what I'm doing. And all of a sudden it's like, I didn't know about our intern, Patrick Prunty. I'd love to invite him up here and speak to the crowd. And I mean, my eyes were like this.
You're in front of 200 people. You have nothing prepared. You don't know how to public speak. And he would be like, you're a good person and I want you to come tell these people something.
Come up and talk to all these people
and you're like,
twice your age.
Yeah, what
way more experience than you do.
He did that to me like 2 weeks into working here.
Yeah, it's kind of like his MO.
I look back, I'm like, dude, you gave me the keys to a Ferrari even though I didn't know how to drive it, and it just taught you so many life lessons being in those uncomfortable situations.
Kind of a foundation though. I mean, we always talk about how like be comfortable with being uncomfortable and how we've all been in those uncomfortable situations where we're like, we haven't been here before. Like, how do we navigate this? But like you have like faith and you really just, you surround yourself with good people. I feel like that there's nothing more important than that.
Yeah.
So he ended up growing that referral business, that out of state to like about 200 cities. Yeah. I think there's about 200 cities around the country.
Go back really quick because the original name of the company was Marshall Reddick Seminars.
You're right.
And a lot of people don't know that. It was called, when I started working at Marshall Reddick in 2005, it was Marshall Reddick Seminars. Our URL was marshallreddickseminars.com. And that wasn't much of a website.
Yeah. Oh, no. And then that was not a website at all.
And then I think like what you're talking about in the early 2000s when he had, 100 different referral agents across the country was when it became the Marshall Reddick Real Estate Network.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Marshall Reddick Realty was in there.
And then he renamed it, to Marshall Reddick Real Estate Network.
And so people
which was the longest URL in the world.
Yeah. Was MRREN. Remember we shortened it to MRREN.com.
But that was later. That was in 2011 when I started, or I started in 2009. So I started after the music stopped. I was like way late. I walked into a funeral thinking I was like walking into a wedding reception, and I was like, okay.
from my personal standpoint, because I was working there, Pat and I were there a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And we lived through that decline of the recession.
That's 06 to 08.
And some of the pain and what happened, for people.
Yeah.
And thankfully we were learning so much, but a lot of people I think just didn't, they learned the hard way.
Yeah.
And, companies going through a lot of restructure. I think times were tough. This is like the middle of the recession. I think there was just a lot of fear. There's a lot of fear. And then
this was like December of 2008.
This is your interview?
This is
getting hired?
Yeah. Maybe
couldn't have been worse timing.
I mean, they made movies about this,
Literally.
right? Like The Big Short. Like this is what happened.
Yes, this is the heart of the Great Recession.
But in walks Ross, and I still remember like him coming in so like bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, so positive, and coming in with all these ideas and kind of asking a lot of people like, so what do you do here? Like, how does your job work? Like, what are your goals? And just trying to really like understand everything. And I'm sitting back and going like, dude, just don't even bother.
Who
Like
is
right
this
now is
guy?
not the time, dude. Like there's a lot of change going on. And I think, and I appreciated that so much. And I know that, for me, like I appreciate good questions, And I feel like I could tell like where you were coming from. I'm like, he really just wants to learn. He's not like leading me somewhere. Like the guy just wants to know.
Yeah.
And I could see other people that were kind of like, why are you like asking me all these questions? Like, where are you?
I was one of those guys.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I was the late adopter to Ross.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's true.
You guys were
my
working
interview
much closer
was
together.
very different than your guys' interviews with Marshall. That's for sure.
I think that's one of my favorite stories. But we should mention like what was your first job?
Yeah. So okay.
Like why you got hired and
So I was a senior in college actually, and my roommate Chad Blake interned at Marshall Reddick.
I remember Chad.
And then an alumni of mine, Vanguard University, Rachel Stewart.
Shout out to
interned at
Remember Rachel too?
Yeah. Shout out to Rachel.
Course.
She was one of
Awesome.
Marshall's personal assistants on the work side. And she had interned at Marshall Reddick as well. And then when she graduated, she became full-time. Chad went on to grad school and didn't work there. But at that point, I mean, I was interning at Madison Street Partners, which was like A-class office buildings under Paul Root and John Bucher. Great guys, love them to this day. Taught me everything I know. And so I really wanted to get in the investment side, and they were on the tenant rep side. And this was 2008. I mean, you could not, going into real estate investing in 2008 was horrible. And, I was thinking about like going to law school. I was thinking about all these different things. And Chad's dad actually was an attorney. And I had like met with him, and another buddy's dad was an attorney, and they're like, don't become attorneys. Like, you won't be happy.
I got talked out of it too.
Yeah,
it's funny,
like,
right?
you'll make a lot of money and you'll hate your life. And I was like, okay, no offense to attorneys. I mean, I love attorneys. We have great attorneys. And but I just started calling alumni, literally anybody that had a job, because I had sent out hundreds of resumes, hundreds of interviews.
This was well before LinkedIn.
Yeah, there's no LinkedIn, right? Yeah. And so it was 2008. And so I'm like, God, this is not working. It's been a year. And so I just started calling everybody I went to school with that had jobs. And I called Rachel, and Rachel's, controlled Marshall's calendar. And she was like, we're not hiring, and we just laid off 100 people, but, I'll put you on the books for lunch. And so she put him, on his calendar, and we went to Stonefire in Irvine.
Yeah. On Barranca.
For lunch.
Still there.
Yeah. Ed was there.
The director of operations. Right.
And then Molly, his other personal assistant, was there. And it was an interesting lunch.
There's no dollar amount that I wouldn't pay to just sit there.
Well, and he told you to go home after that, right?
Well,
There was no job offer.
That's where you were going with that. This is actually one of my favorite stories. When we talk about like, what are your favorite stories from like the beginning, the early days?
Yeah.
It's so incredible. And I feel like, our synergy, we complement each other in different ways. We have different strengths and weaknesses. And it just, I think what makes us so powerful as a team. But back then, you were at lunch, and this story is just incredible. You finished lunch.
Yeah.
You had an interview, a lunch interview.
We're still sitting at the table. And Marshall goes, well, it's really great to meet you. And, I wish you the best of luck. And, I hope you find, an opportunity. And I was like, ah. And so we walk out of the restaurant. And as we're walking out, Marshall and Molly are like,
in front,
10 feet ahead of us, and Ed and I are walking together, and Ed goes, "All right, I'll call you next week." And I was like,
mixed emotions.
I was
But
like,
but
what
the guy
just-
whose name is on the
the guy on the door just said, "Best of luck, pound sand," and you're like, what could you possibly call me about next week? And sure enough, like, you know,
hired.
4 or 5 days
Yeah.
later, Ed calls me and goes, we want you to work here, and here's your job offer. And I'm just like, what is going on right now?
Right, where am I?
Yeah.
I think the cherry on top of that story is Marshall never like acknowledged after
He
that.
never, to this day,
never
actually,
said, like, hey, you know,
I need to talk
need
to him
to
about
hire
that.
you.
As
Yeah.
February will be 17 years at Marshall Reddick for me,
You gotta
and
ask him,
I've
just,
never
do you
talked to
remember, like,
Marshall
telling
about
me
that.
like you're not gonna hire me, and then here we are.
I'm gonna call Marshall.
Well,
but
I'm thankful that Ed
I'm thankful
saw that
that he
opportunity,
did
right?
too,
Yeah, we wouldn't be here right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm just thankful that, you know, life put us all together.
Yeah.
You know, we've all worked together now
It's
20
been
years.
incredible. Yeah, I mean, even this weekend has been awesome.
Oh, man.
It's been so
I
fun.
know. Pat, do you have a story from the early days that really stands out in your head?
You know, I'm not particularly. There's so many stories to go on, but I think what's really cool is having had the opportunity to get into real estate really young.
Yeah.
Yes.
Totally.
At the time that I did, it was so unique because, again, I didn't know anything about real estate, and I was just a sponge, and I was starting to absorb it. And the family I come from was, not high income earners, very frugal, savers, and so I kind of had that mentality. And then seeing just real estate was exploding, and you could do no wrong, and you could not lose money, and the values of the
going
homes
up.
were going up so incredibly fast. And I'm surrounded by all these entrepreneurs that are like, "You got to do this, Pat. You got to do this, Pat. Buy this first property, get qualified for a loan," all those different types of things. And I did, and I learned a ton about that. But then, fast forward a couple of years later, and us having our best year revenue-wise in 2006.
Well, and you were in accounting, so you knew it intimately more than anyone.
I did. And, kind of seeing the inefficiencies in the business and starting to see a change in the business, seeing revenue come down a little bit, and then starting, listening to the news. And then all of a sudden, I mean, it was so fast. It was like we were in 2007 and everything was going
dramatic.
great.
And
And then all of a
day,
sudden it was
right.
like
It was
nosedive.
kind of a
And
new
Pat
chapter.
So Pat had a unique journey at Marshall Reddick because he was an intern, then ARAP, then an accounting manager, and then a controller. And so
That's before the lending even got started.
there was no
Right.
private lending at that
Right.
time. But I mean, so when you're
That's over
talking
like
about
8
the
years time
P&L
span,
and the
yeah.
balance sheet, like you
Knew it.
It was
Yeah.
your P&L and balance sheet because you
Totally.
were the controller, which was
Totally. Those
Yeah.
were some tough times, going through those layoffs that we had and going from, around 200 staff that we had. And, that's when I really learned about transactional and the back end of real estate. Marshall had all of this real estate, and then of course, then we got into foreclosures and short sales and these different things. And I can remember just working with a lot of third-party agents, working with the banks, trying to figure out what to do with his portfolio.
became
and
almost an asset manager in addition to
Absolutely,
it.
that
You
is
can't
a
even
great
pay
way to
for
put
that,
that.
like education. Like
yeah,
you cannot
and
put
you're
a price
talking
tag
a
for learning that.
portfolio of hundreds of properties.
Yeah,
So
close
it
to
was-
400.
Yeah,
Close to 400.
yeah,
And then, that was great experience, and it really shaped who I am today, as an investor, as a money manager, seeing that there are risks
Yeah.
in all types of investing,
Yeah.
including real
Right.
estate, and to, again, kind of what not to do.
Yeah.
Not to over lever,
Yeah.
stay conservative, stay
fixed
humble.
rate, no floating debt,
Low LTVs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. High cash flow. Yeah,
And, we've got a lot more to talk about, but that also was the birth of Marshall Reddick's private lending program, was coming out of 2008, getting into 9 and trying to figure out
Yeah.
kind of where we were going to go.
Yeah.
And then having managed all of those homes and short sales and foreclosures and all of that, and having the experience of knowing those reps, those agents, those real estate brokerages around the country that he was operating with.
Yeah.
And those folks needed capital.
yeah.
They were buying those distressed homes.
Well, and in addition to that, you had the capital markets and private banks, commercial banks lock up
Yeah.
and not
Freeze.
lend
Yeah.
because a lot of these homes were uninhabitable, whether that was, people took out cabinets and sold them. They took out windows, countertops,
Yeah,
appliances.
the electrical, the copper.
Sometimes they were just angry and would just destroy the interior of the house because they were getting foreclosed on and like mad at
I
the
think
world.
By 2009, there were millions of foreclosures.
Totally. And so we
10
needed,
million maybe was the number I heard.
we needed hard money loans. We needed private financing, and it just didn't exist in the market because banks had done that traditionally prior. And
Absolutely.
so in comes us on accident, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it was really the clientele that Marshall had built over that 20 years prior to that. And he had done such a good job of creating millionaires through that buy and hold real estate.
Yeah.
And then this was sort of something new and flashy. It's like, okay, you can only own so many rental properties.
Yeah,
Okay, let's
and,
be honest
and it's
about that.
illiquid, so
Yeah.
you can't have 100% of your net worth in it.
And so then here we are evaluating deals, flips mostly,
Yep.
Georgia, Ohio, Tennessee, and saying, okay, this deal pencils. But then it's like, okay, turn around. Where am I going to get the money to fund this deal?
Yeah.
And then it was
Right.
just dialing for dollars. It was all of those Marshall
There's
Reddick
so much
individual
opportunity
clients.
at the
It
time,
started
yeah.
out with us. It was
We lent our
it was
own
your
personal
dad.
money.
It was your
Me, my
dad,
money, my
Marshall,
dad,
and the
yeah.
three of us. And
Right.
I think we put like $1
couple
million
friends.
together between, the three of us and Marshall and both of your dads, the
It
six
was-
of us. And we just started
Started
lending our
lending
own money.
Yeah. I don't
And
even
that
think it was
was
like
crazy
secured at the
because
time. Like we were just
So thankful for Dad.
Oh
my
yeah,
gosh.
absolutely.
Take-
The
you know,
parents really,
he
they
trusted
stepped
us, so
in.
Yeah.
that was good times.
And it worked out, and that just taught us so much. I think
Well,
we
then,
did
what
4
happened, we
loans our
then
first
tapped
year.
out Marshall and your parents, and we had to then
We had, like,
say,
no more friends with money
we have
left."
more
Yeah,
loans.
yeah.
We have to start calling clients, and that's really where Marshall Reddick clients came in. Is we started calling them for capital.
So instead of buying and holding the real estate, it's like, hey, why don't you
lien
make this
holder.
first trust deed for
Yeah.
12 months for a
Yep.
10%
Own
return?
the mortgage and collect the mortgage payment.
They were very receptive to that, and
Yeah.
thankfully, like I think we had built a lot of respect and trust at that time, especially stepping in and taking over the company from where
Yeah.
Marshall was, keeping the name too.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people asked us, "So are you guys, going to keep the name?" We're like, "Absolutely."
What
Like,
year was our first loan?
2010.
Yeah.
Wow,
We did 4 loans
That
in
was
2010.
a lot. Yeah, with Jim.
Yeah.
We did 4,000. We did a 4,000
$25,000 loan amounts.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay. So then that was in 2010. And then 2011 is really when we started going to Marshall and saying, hey, like we need to start adopting technology. That was when it was like we hired software
In-house
engineer.
developer,
We brought in
yeah.
a CRM. We were rebuilding the website. And Marshall was like, this is a waste of money. This is a waste of time. Like, this is crazy. What are you doing? You know, but that was also Zillow had just been invented like 2 years earlier. LinkedIn had just been invented.
Yelp,
Facebook,
maybe, yeah.
Yelp.
It's like all those tech companies were getting
Exactly.
started.
Google, it's
You
only a few
started
years
using
in, yeah.
Google for like what it is today, or I guess now we use chat, but it was like before you
Before
could
it was
go on
Ask
MapQuest.
Jeeves. There was like a website out and you would just say-
exactly. So like 2011 was really the turning point of like the internet as like AIM and MapQuest to like I'm using this on my iPhone for everything that I do, and I was 24 at the time, so I'm like just all in,
Oh, yeah.
and I'm like, guys, like this is a problem. Like this is going to either make us more wealthy than a human ever deserves, or we're going to be out of business and there's going to be no middle ground. And like, we have to go all in on this. And we didn't have a lot of money to go all in on.
Right.
Just
But
no
whatever we
money,
had.
really.
Yeah.
But remember the premise to that was we want to build the closest relationships with our clients possible. And whatever technology or lack of we had before that, like didn't allow us to store all this information and data on our clients. And so kind of the original idea of the CRM was like, we have
Thousands,
decades of like
hundreds of
experiences
thousands.
with clients who've bought
Yeah.
tons and tons of properties. We have this personal relationship with them, but like, we want to be able to just look them up and go, well, this is what they did for
Yeah.
work. And this is,
Yeah.
where they like to vacation. And
Yeah. So that was in 2011. And then 2014 is when Marshall retired.
officially retired.
Yeah. And that was and private lending still wasn't like a thing until
It was just
around-
me.
Yeah, it was Pat.
Right.
And when I
How
wanted to
much
hire
you-
you an employee, you're like, this is crazy.
Why would we
We
need
can't
to do
afford
that?
it.
Yeah.
We don't need to do that. Yeah, exactly. So 2014 is when Marshall retired and we had purchased the company from Marshall. And that was also the year we started property management.
Yeah.
We said, because Marshall hated property management.
I still remember.
He didn't like work. Yeah.
Do you remember walking up to Marshall? It might have been like 2013, like 2004, like right around that time, right before, we purchased the company, and we said, Marshall,
you're going to put us out of business.
We have to do property management.
Yeah.
Like we have to be able
any money doing that.
To control and provide like the experience and pay and give these rent checks to our clients and have that control.
Well,
and
he always liked to hire third-party management.
Yeah,
he never wanted
anything
to do with the maintenance, leasing, renovations. He solely wanted to buy and sell properties.
Well, that kind of opened the door, right, for us to continue the torch. He's like, I don't want to do property management.
Yeah.
And we're like, but that's the future of this company.
Totally. Yeah,
so
that
kind of
really
set the
is.
Stage for the next chapter.
Fast forward 4,000 plus properties under management, like that is really the glue that holds it together, because we can now control the quality of service. Where when we were working with third-party managers, we had some great ones, but we had some absolutely horrible ones too that, were just incompetent or criminal or whatever you want to call it. But it's like your property manager really does determine the success or failure of your investment.
Having that mold model, which I appreciate what we learned from working with hundreds of third-party mom and pop property managers. Yeah. We learned like the industry needs like a
what to do and
reliable, good property manager that's not just in like one little neighborhood, but a somewhat, a nationwide consistent property management model.
And that was like, we started that like day one of Marshall retiring. Yeah, so that was 2014. And by 2017 is when that's when we really started having capital. We had a couple $1 million, maybe like $5-6 million.
I took your advice. I let you hire me a couple of staff.
Stephanie Miller.
Yeah.
Ish was maybe the first.
No, it was Stephanie
was it
Miller.
Stephanie
I
before
think
Ish?
Ish was first.
Was it?
And then Stephanie came as an intern.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was really a game changer, getting some staff in there. Stepping out of the accounting was another really big one.
Oh my gosh.
I once I got going full time and not having like a foot in over here.
Yeah, because the first like 5 years you were still our accounting and you were lending
on the side.
Yeah.
Yeah. But getting some staff in there, starting to get some capital, realizing that we needed to become the service provider as opposed to just the referral agent.
Yeah.
That was huge. And that's what really got us into our lines of business today.
Well, and that's actually a funny story. That's back to 2009. Dude. We weren't doing brokerage. And I had gotten my broker's license at the time. And actually, you didn't even need experience. That was like before Arrest Batilla Dodd-Frank.
Right.
The whole 2008 meltdown. But so in 2009, I got my broker's license. And all I needed was a college degree. I needed no experience. Mm-hmm. So I got my broker's license and I went to Marshall and I was like, hey, like I want to start brokering my own deals. Like I don't want to work with these third-party agents. I want to do it myself. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah.
That's the favor.
Yeah. Pass it on to you.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't want to, what can my splits be? And Marshall's like, oh, like,
you can have 100%.
Yeah, we don't really do that. So you can just have 100% of your commission, like no split. I was like, really?
Deal. Where do I sign?
I was like, okay. And that was really Marshall though. It's like, oh, cool. Like you're doing something new. You're doing something entrepreneurial. Like I'm good, man. I don't need the money. I got plenty of money. Like go have fun. Like let me know what you learn. Like teach me along the way once you figure it out. Mm-hmm. And so I started doing deals as an agent, like on the side and making a ton of money. It was incredible, actually. I had pretty much 2 jobs. And so I was, working with buyers and sellers. At that time, it was all short sales, foreclosures, REOs. It was, it was pretty,
such a great time to be in real estate though.
Totally. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And that was great because that really got me hands on. And that's when I started buying properties too. Cause I was like, God, these mortgage payments are significantly less than these rents. And like, I'm going to start buying a couple of these. And yeah. And so that was really awesome.
What year did you buy your first property?
2010. Yeah.
Was it Utah or Vegas?
I was in Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
Salt Lake City. And then La Quinta, Costa Mesa, Vegas. And then once we started doing our own management, I started 1031ing them into only markets that we did the management in. Because at that time, I was using third-party managers.
Right.
Same as Marshall. I did what Marshall taught me to do,
That's a really cool, unique thing, though, is that we all went through those investment experiences. We understood or learned how to work with a realtor so that we could become realtors. We
everything,
worked with property managers, and we found out what was good, what worked, what didn't, so we were able to become good property managers.
You learn a lot more about what you do wrong than what you do right.
It's cool. We kind of all bought in like different markets. Like here I am, California native, like left the state a few times and ended up buying my first property at 24 in Alabama. Hadn't even been in Alabama. Closed escrow, still hadn't been in the state. Ended up finally going out there like 6 months after I closed to meet my tenants. Well, which that would never fly anymore.
Don't meet the tenants.
No. I called my property manager like, I want to meet my family and that's living in there, and they're like, oh, yeah, sure, no problem. And
well, and that honestly, so 2014, the other thing we did was I was like, we do not need to be in 40 markets. It is way too overwhelming. We don't need to be in tertiary markets. And we went,
quality over quantity.
5 or 6 markets. And it was like LA, Orange County, Austin, San Antonio, Nashville, Fort Myers, Florida. And we were just like, we just going to be in these. We're going to be powerful in these. We're going to have density in these. And, we don't need to be in 40 markets. Exactly. We need to be in 5 or 6 really good markets and become really
I loved that. I feel like when we were being selective, because, coming out of that recession or at least at the top of the market, every city, every state in the country was just, going up in value. We obviously learned a lot from the recession. It became, location. But what we learned after that downturn was there were certain markets that were very hardly affected at all by the recession. And then of course there were other markets that were massively affected. So then it becomes like, well, how come certain areas like Texas and
I mean, like Austin
didn't
and
drop.
Nashville
Didn't drop
had
in value.
in 2008 was almost like 1-2%, where Phoenix, Vegas, like Miami were
dropped 40, 50, 60%, right?
Yeah, I mean, they couldn't give them away. I remember going to the trust deed sales in Vegas, and I mean, the first house I bought had sold for $450, and I bought it for $100, and I was like,
"How is that real?"
What in or maybe I bought it for $150, but it was way less than half, and my mind just couldn't comprehend it.
Well, that really was that's the whole premise is you have to be selective, and location is always what matters. And, we let's hone in on some of these best markets, these recession-resistant markets. Let's figure out why they didn't crash like other markets, and let's really just focus in on that and extract that.
And then also at the time we were still, although we had consolidated our markets, we were still working with third-party companies, right? We couldn't just flip a switch and open 6 offices in 24 hours. So our first market wasn't until 2017, which was San Antonio.
Right.
And why San Antonio? Is it that we had such a big footprint there at the time? We're so close to so many clients that were out there with property management.
4 military bases. We could see that there was a lot of growth. It didn't drop during the recession.
We had single-handedly grown 3 of the largest property management companies in San Antonio. I mean, so we started out with 1,000 clients who owned rental properties there, and it was just a simple phone call of, "Hey, we're doing in-house management
low barrier of entry."
But exactly. The need of good property management just kept screaming at us. These clients were like, "We need a better property management." We would see their experiences and go well, that's the essence of buying investment properties. You don't just buy that property and it works out. You need to have consistent, good management for years and years. And we didn't. It wasn't even overnight that we did this.
Proof is in the pudding, right? So 9 years later, from 2014 to 2005, right now, we're the largest property manager in San Antonio, and we did that in 9 years, and we're still growing tremendously and bringing in apartment buildings, build for rent communities, and I mean it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
We always look at the client though. That's always been our focus. Is talking to the client, getting in the nitty gritty and finding out how is your experience. If one client is not happy, then others may not be, right? So it's you got to focus.
Digging in.
And I always have clients that go I know I'm probably not that important. I only have one property, and I'm you are just as important as every other client. Just because you have one property that we manage, no, you are just as important as everybody else.
And you're going to have a friend, a family member, a coworker, an inheritance, a job promotion, a liquidation of a business.
Exactly.
like
Life changes.
Exactly. Life changes. And this is a root that's going to grow and bear fruit. And, every single client's important.
We've talked a lot about the timeline here. And one of the topics that we spent time on was the recession in 2008. History, looking back, you can always kind of define timelines, but we're sort of been experiencing a bit of a recession. I don't know exactly when that started. I mean, one of the indicators to me was the significant rise in interest rates that happened there in the end of Q2
2022. Q4 of 22,
right,
Q1 of 23 was like, that was
But it's kind of like lingered, and it's like, are we in one?
Like
are we not in one?
Isn't it a little bit of a controlled recession? Like the difference for me is there was no control back then. Yeah.
Where 2008 was like, and we're falling off.
Like literally nosediving.
Like 24 months of no transactions. Tremendous uncertainty, massive layoffs, high unemployment. I think the difference is everybody was broke back then. Nobody had money.
Job loss, yeah.
And today, I think there's a lot of capital, but it's all on the sidelines. And so, it makes that recession, it's,
right.
Well, I mean,
we've more
we've cranked right through this from everything that we've encountered starting in 2000, and then seeing the crazy run up that happened again in 01, and then wow, these interest rates are really having an effect on things, and then sort of just like this period of just uncertainty. We've kind of kept. So to me, it's like, are we actually in one? And then I start to realize by looking at different metrics and reading different articles and talking to different people that certainly that we have some issues in overall economics.
I look at it a little bit more of a recession, but this is like a correction recession. Right?
But you got to remind, go back. We only have one recession prior to this to base it off of, which was like, are all recessions like 2008?
But I would say that the COVID recession was equally as powerful. It was just very short-lived, but it was like, 4 to 6 months of the world's ending to freaking just put on your seatbelt and helmet. We're like guns blazing.
And then values have doubled since then.
Exactly.
But you remember Marshall would teach us something so important. He would say, if you have double-digit appreciation year over year, there's going to be a correction.
Stop. Yeah.
I don't know if it's 3 years in a row, but when you get to that point,
another
you
big
can't
thing,
sustain.
and this is outside of the macroeconomics, just looking at Marshall Reddick, the business. In 2008, we only did brokerage. So when sales stopped, Marshall Reddick stopped. Where today,
so true.
We have property management, we have leasing, we have the mortgage fund, we have hard money lending. Yeah. So we have all these other sources of revenue where brokerage is, 30, 40% of revenue. So it's like, if it goes down, it's unfortunate and it hurts, but it's not like
the business
detrimental. It's just like, we'll spend a little more time on management and the investment fund and grow that area of the business. And we'll, grow brokerage a little slower the next couple of years. Where in 2008, it was like, that was your only source of revenue. It wasn't like we'll grow slower the next couple of years. It was like, we got to lay people off.
Well, that was our experience firsthand. We saw that doesn't work.
Well, and that's why I wanted to bring in the other services of the hard money lending and the property management and to diversify our revenue. And I'm so
seems like a no-brainer, right?
Yeah, I mean, exactly, all of those businesses to work hand in hand, there's so much synergy between the three.
Well, that's what I love, our offices where you have this diversity of employees in different departments, but they're all in one company. So many people that we've had come and visit our office are wait, you have one room and you have agents and private lending and property management all sitting around each other. That's usually 3 different businesses
learning
that are
from each other on the telephone, talking to clients.
I had conversations from property management about move-ins and leases, and then private money lending there, talking about borrower applications, and we've got
what's interesting is from a lending standpoint, our underwriters are so much more intelligent because they actually understand, okay, if we foreclose on this property, what is the value? What are the comps? How do we stabilize it? How do we, either get it rent ready and rent it out, or how do we fix it up and sell it? Because it's the guy sitting 50 feet away in the other department doing the work, and then vice versa to the agent. The agent understands rent comps. They understand the leasing process. They understand what it's like to be a landlord because they're sitting right next to property management. And so it's creates this incredible synergy and like information just being passed.
The learning is you take everything away, like just take everything away, and it's the learning environment that we have. Like I feel like you can't replace that. The amount of learning and knowledge that you gain just like sitting in the office, talking to your coworkers, like hearing conversations.
I totally agree.
Can't replace that.
And it's a lot of fun. I mean, look, you know, we're in La Quinta with a couple of the agents, a couple of the property managers, a couple of the private lending team, and just brainstorming and having a good time.
Playing a ton of pickleball.
A lot of pickleball. Yes. That's right.
I'm a bit sore today, I gotta tell you.
My right arm is definitely
only
sore.
stay at houses with pickleball courts.
That's the rule.
Yeah, a key requirement.
So
Scott,
you were, go ahead, Pat.
Let me ask you a question here. To you, who is the quintessential Marshall Reddick client?
Oh, wow.
That's who are they? What do they do?
Question.
You know.
Well,
how do they get involved? What services do they use?
Yeah.
It's so cool having this unique company where you can come in and not have a lot of experience investing in real estate. Yeah. But let's say that you own your home. A rookie. We all got to start somewhere. You own
no
your
experience,
home.
Right? You're just buying your primary for your first time.
Yeah. I can think of a few clients who started off with one service where they bought their home and then they moved out of their home and they said, well, you know, I need property management.
Maybe
so
a
we had
job
the
transfer or something.
opportunity to talk to them and manage their home and then help them not just manage their current home, but buy their next home.
Yeah.
And then as we're managing their previous primary residence,
which is now a rental property.
Which is now a rental property and they're a landlord. We're now opening them up to what does it look like to actually go buy investment property? Like you bought this as a home, you moved out of it, your intentions were to live in it. There's a good opportunity here to rent this out and collect some cash flow. But now taking the next step to being a real estate investor, like what do you need to look for? What resources do you have? What tools do you need?
Well, then you can parlay that into where is your capital while you're saving up the down payment? Are you sitting in a savings account? Are you sitting in a CD? Like, why don't you invest in mortgages for, 2 to 3 years and get
super short term liquid,
double the yield, double the return in a liquid investment.
Right.
And then once you have the down payment for your next property, let the mortgages mature, withdraw from the mortgage fund and go buy the property.
But these aren't super wealthy people, would you say? I mean, certainly we have some of those clients, but
upper middle class, but middle class, upper middle class. I think we have a wide array of clients.
I think the last 3 to 4 years, it's changed dramatically. Where I think in the early days, it was primarily 1 to 4 unit rental property, and under $3 to $4 million net worth to $50,000, $100,000 initial investment. Where I think now that we've been moving into apartment buildings, we have the audited REIT and the investment fund. We're starting to now get $5-10 million investments, which in the until 3 years ago it was your typical investment was $50,000 to like $500,000.
I think the average client is just somebody who's like frugal. They're good with they've saved their money. They worked hard. They have some savings and they realize like I can't retire just with my job. Like I need something else.
The millionaire next door.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Oh yeah. I mean, our events, people walk in shorts and t-shirt. These aren't like institutional.
So our wealthiest clients.
They're just normal people.
Normal people.
Yeah.
But I think that's what's so cool is like we can help somebody like that and have helped tens of thousands of people like that get like further in life. And then when you help somebody financially, it like enriches them in so many ways. I mean, we've had clients that have said like, from what you guys have done, it's like allowed me to like do things I've wanted to do, write a book or go travel more, and like really live their life.
Pay for kids' school or grandkids' school. Yeah.
I'm going to say my brother, by the way, because my brother started off at a young age buying investment properties and then eventually, of course, uses us for property management. Does some private money loans.
You're totally right.
Now is getting in the mortgage fund.
Yeah. How old is he now? He's like 35.
Well, before the mortgage fund, he funded
36,
several individual, trust deed investments for us over the years.
Yeah, quite a bit.
Yeah.
That I think for Ross, we like looked at ourselves when we took over the company and said like, we have to want to be the customer like more than anybody else. Like we have to
I didn't
believe
build
so
this
much
for
in
clients.
what we do.
I built this for myself and my own properties, and just said, might as well charge other people to do
Exactly.
it too if I'm already going to be doing it.
What do you call that? Like eat your own dog food?
Eat your own dog
right?
food. Yeah. Don't ever, Scott, don't. Okay. Here's something about Scott, people.
Don't be too literal.
Don't listen to his sayings.
Okay. Well,
It's like grape juice and tuna fish.
You can understand where that comes from. Like you work at a restaurant,
eat
you
your own
like
dog
the
food.
taste of the
That
food.
is a
like,
fantastic analogy, and I love
Right?
it, and I can't wait for.
I wouldn't
another
eat dog
analogy.
food, just
Yeah.
for the record. But you know, we've always said like if there's ever a time where like we wouldn't feel comfortable putting our money in the mortgage fund, buying investment properties, like using our staff for property management,
Totally.
like we got to fix it. Like in that moment.
Yeah, we have 80 million in the mortgage fund right now, adding 1 to 2 million, you know, a month of additional capital, and Marshall Reddick team members are, you know, over 10% of that. That's, you know, I mean, the proof is
Really
in the
speaks
pudding.
volume
Yeah, totally.
to believing in the services and the investments that you provide.
Yeah.
I certainly am that
I
way.
mean, I go to sleep so well at night and think about not just like the clients, but like you're talking about the staff members
Oh yeah.
who are benefiting and who are, you know, enriching their lives
Yeah.
from
I mean,
buying a home or investment property with us.
As a CEO, like I have 2 clients. Like one is the team. Like arguably that's my most important client, right? And then the other obviously is the investor. But like if I'm not catering to my client being like Marshall Reddick team members, like all this stops like overnight, you know?
Yeah.
So
And who's the other client?
oh, the investor, mortgage fund investor, buyer, seller, landlord, you know, yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to look at it. I never thought of the staff as a client,
Oh
but
my
it's so
gosh.
true.
They're your most important client. And the second you're not pouring into them, taking care of them, loving on them, like making sure they're growing like in their personal and careers, like, you know, because you have to, this is the number one thing, right? If you're scaling a business, you know, we're at like 160, 70 people now, you know, we're hiring people every month. Like I can't be everywhere at once. I don't want to be everywhere at once. I have like a wife and kids and I want to exercise every once in a while and be present and like have a social life. Like, and so like the quality of the team members determines the success or failure of the company. And so if I'm not constantly recruiting and retaining and, you know, making sure everybody's happy, like, you know,
What's the
Absolutely,
latest
yeah.
staff count?
Okay, 100.
You'd know that. And I mean, and break that up
Yeah.
between W-2s and
160,
independent contractors.
It's very even.
Yeah.
Actually, it's surprisingly.
so we're probably at like 70 1099 agents across 8 different offices.
So just realtors with their license held with Marshall
75,
Reddick.
or yeah,
75.
in that
I
realm,
mean, you
right?
got to also understand, like we're hiring
ones are
people
coming
every
in,
month,
right.
so
Sure.
this number's changing. But like, so yeah, 70, 75 agents. So you know, maybe 5 to 10 per office. And then on the W-2 side, probably, you know, 80, 90.
It's like 150, 160.
Yeah, and you know we're going through a bit of a growth spurt. Actually, this year is our best. It's been our best year financially in the history of the company, which is, you know, such a blessing and just incredible. But
When you come into the company and you see like that,
Yeah, I
is
guess there's-
not osmosis. Like we
Yeah.
are constantly meeting.
Oh, yeah.
We are constantly looking at what
Yeah.
dozens of different graphs and charts and Excel spreadsheets,
Yeah.
and talking to. I mean, how many employees do you talk to like on a regular day? Or
yeah, I mean,
agents or
there's probably like 10 people I like
Right.
really am talking to every week. Maybe not daily, but there's like 10 people I'm talking to every week. And there's another probably like 20, 30 people that are very important that I'm really making an effort to try to get to each month. And then, you know, the rest of the team, I get to do like, you know, Thanksgiving potlucks and Christmas parties.
Or
and,
awesome,
or
fun retreats
weekends
like
in the
this.
desert.
Weekends in the
Yeah,
desert.
This has been
exactly.
epic.
Yeah.
Indio,
And so
yeah.
it's like, you know, and that honestly, that is the hardest part of growth is like not knowing everybody on the team like intimately, like their spouse and their kids and what they do for fun and what makes them tick in their goals is like, that kills me. Cause that's like, you know, my celebration or my victories and goals now are like when team members buy a home, when team members are buying investment property, when team members are investing in the mortgage fund, when a team member becomes a millionaire. Like those are like major milestones for me where I'm like, like this feels good.
Oh yeah.
Like this
We
is
put
like,
it in-
it's working, you know? And in order for that to happen, obviously you have to take care of the landlord, the buyer, the seller, the mortgage fund investor, the borrower. Like, because if you're taking care of these core team members, then they have the ability and bandwidth to take care of the client. And then, you know, now it just is growing without me, with, you know, the recruiting team and HR and the executive management team and like incredible leaders within the company.
Well, that's always been our vision. I mean, when I was, when we started as, you know, owners of the company, I was in my late 20s, you were like mid 20s, but like our vision was always to have the company like outlive us. Like it was, people would ask us our vision, and we're like, we want to create like
this can be a 100-year
brand
company.
that will be around.
If we do it correctly, there's no reason this can't be a 100-year company.
Well, there's no such thing as failure, so you just keep tinkering until we get there.
If you don't quit, you
got to learn from it. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, okay, so we're like coming into the end of 2025.
I know.
It's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
We're sitting here, you know, in La Quinta.
Married, kids.
We're married. We have kids.
Gray hair.
We got a little gray hairs. Yeah. A few more coming in here and there.
Yeah.
We have a staff of 160 people.
Yeah.
We have close to
I think
4,000.
I think we have 15 jobs posted right now for new hires.
4,000 properties under management. We're doing 50 loan originations a month. We have $75 million in the mortgage fund. Like
another 60 million in direct mortgage investments.
Right.
We're like 140 or something in total AUM.
Right. But where do we go from here? Right. What
gosh.
does the future look like? Like when we're sitting around a table in our 50s and having this same conversation, like what do we want that to look like? I mean,
I think one of the big things for me, you know, when you're in your early 20s, you want to work 100 hours a week and you want to conquer the world, and like you want, you know, the nice house and the nice car, and you know want vacations, all that stuff, and like you're willing to do whatever it takes to like work hard to make that happen. And like now it's so ironic. My views on it are like simplicity. Like, don't get me wrong, I love a good day's work and I work a lot. But I want to have fun and I want to enjoy it, and I want to work with people that I can enjoy being around. And I need to make profit day one rather than just take market share. I think in those first 10 years, like we didn't care about profit. The goal was like break even and grow top line, where today it's like, we don't need to grow. Like if we don't grow, like life's going to be really great. And if we do grow, life's going to be really great. And I'm going to make sure that you know, doesn't change regardless of what we're doing. And that's, I think over the last 2 to 3 years has been a very different mentality of the early days of like grow at all costs, sacrifice everything, like just get it, you know. And that's easy to do, right? When you're 21, you have no wife, no kids, no mortgage, like, you know, just
you got your left hand, your right hand, and your brain, right?
And time, all you have is time.
And
you have nothing else going on. So it's like, might as well build something cool.
Right.
You know, so I think we're going to do more of what we're already doing. I would like to become more prominent, more dense in our existing markets. I'm going to have an office in Phoenix, Pat.
It's mandatory.
It's not going to be soon, but
it's
you
such
know,
a good
in
market.
the next 5 years, I think that's
we'll get there in the time.
Yeah, I'm not in a rush to do that,
sense.
but I also understand Phoenix is a fantastic market and something we need to do. I just got enough going on right now.
So I think core states, then California, coming soon, Arizona, and then of course Texas, where we have a huge footprint.
We have 4 offices. Yeah.
And
Tennessee,
Florida.
we have 2 offices. Florida, we have 1 office. Yeah. So I think that's the footprint is California, Arizona, Texas, Tennessee, Florida. I never want to limit myself to anything. You never know what the future holds, but like we are a powerhouse in those states, and life is easy and simple, and it's like we can do more good stuff with very minimal effort.
Sure, yeah.
I think you know, additional investment funds.
Right.
I think some real estate syndications are probably on the horizon. Maybe like a more value add, or like a debt fund that we lever with a higher return, higher risk, where our current fund right now is like only first trust deeds, 65% low to value, like very conservative, very safe, you know, 8 to 9% returns. Where, you know, there may be opportunity for a little higher risk fund that might, you know, 12, 15% returns. So, but again, like we don't need to do it. I just want to do it.
Right.
You know, and it'll complement anything we do will be very, very complementary to our existing operation.
Right?
Just
needs to fit our
stay
core
razor
competencies.
sharp.
Yes.
Razor
Yeah.
sharp.
Question everything, tinker, perfect.
No, I agree with all that. I would say that software is another big component.
Yeah.
And adding it and bringing it. We're
we
a
have a team
software
now.
company.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing we haven't really talked about is that we're also a real estate technology
So
company.
we got eight people in the software team in the Newport office now. And I mean, that has been just incredible these last couple years of just really good third-party software integrating well in with proprietary software and scaling from small business software to enterprise level software. Like, I think that's
It's a catalyst to our
anytime you
growth
see
and-
good things happening on the front end, that's because the back end is breaking their back, making it perfect. And no one ever talks about the operations and like the iceberg of infrastructure needed to grow a business well, you know, especially when you're scaling fast, maintaining quality. Like, you need double the staff on the back end to support that, you know, small group of people getting all the glory right on the front end of closing deals and stuff like that.
You've heard this 1,000 or 10,000 times.
Yeah.
People go on our website. They're like, your guys' website is awesome.
Yeah.
What you have on there and like the data and the charts and the graphs and all that.
Yeah.
So I really see that like growing a lot.
Yeah.
And who knows, right? There's VR
there's-
and
I
AI
know.
and maybe one day we'll put on
we
a
need to
headset
do.
or
We need to
walking
do.
through a neighborhood.
Yeah, we
and-
can't even bring up technology
No,
right now
it's-
because that
right.
is a
whole
2-hour
nother-
talk in itself. But this has been good.
Yeah.
I really.
This is so fun.
We need to hang out
Exactly.
more.
I know.
We need to get
hang out
together more.
It's so funny. We work
10 100 feet away.
20 feet apart from
exactly.
each other, but we're all just, we're working so hard. So
Yeah, well, I mean, we all have many things to manage. You know, having families now, having young children, trying to teach them the ways of the world,
Yeah.
getting involved in sports and all that kind of thing. And
You're coaching now.
oh, it's
I'm coaching.
Oh yeah,
It's a good
so
I was asked
rewarding.
To be,
So
AYS, I'm
rewarding.
Like, not yet.
You
Like,
got
I
to
need
do
be
it,
a
dude.
coach.
It's
Give me
nothing.
another
It's
year or two.
glorified babysitting.
Yeah.
I mean, if you could do blind children well, you're gonna
Yeah,
do
get a
great
bunch of
with
4-year-olds running around the
exactly.
field.
Yeah, you're gonna do great. They just want to hang out and have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I got to just say though, I really appreciate you guys through and
Dude,
through.
I love
I
you
wouldn't
guys.
want to go to battle with
bring it
anybody
in right
else.
here.
Oh my gosh, it's like a Captain Planet thing.
Yeah, it is like put our rings together. I
Exactly.
thank God, every day that I was put around you guys and just
Oh yeah, you guys have pushed me to be who I am. Like, you guys have challenged me beyond what I thought was possible.
Yeah. Well, I think there's so much motivation and reasons why I'm motivated, but I would say, above all, it's just like showing you guys like what I can do, not letting anybody down, and like learning from you guys
Being
and
positive
teaching
regardless
what I know.
of what's going on around you. It's okay if the building's burning down. Just be positive and just focus on the solution.
So is it volleyball tournament time?
It's volleyball tournament.
Right?
Yeah, let's
put
go.
some sunscreen on.
All
Yeah.
right, dude. Love
All
you
right,
guys.
guys.
This is awesome. And
Love you too.
Cheers.
more content to come.
A lot more.
Yeah,
right?
we want to do this more often, and we're going to start trying to make this a priority. So yeah.
So
go
to be
team.
continued. That's
Yep.
right.